What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy McLavishh, and we back at it. Peace, prosperity, and power. Mind, body, and soul. Death before dishonor. Speaking the truth, keeping the faith, and holding it the fuck down. Still getting over my little sickness, but ain't nothing to a player. Get my water. Ugh. Gotta stay hydrated. Those who know me, normally when I get sick, I go on a fast. Straight water. That's all your body needs. Water. So, today's topic is going over something that I deem very personally. What can I use here? I believe that solitude is one of the best ways to understand yourself, align yourself, plan out the vision, find your purpose. All of these different things that you need to succeed in life. Understanding your own boundaries, your own triggers, setting your own boundaries, and not letting anybody intentionally get you to react, because every cause has an effect. And you got to realize that misery loves company. I personally deal with that a lot. A lot of people, specifically when I'm at work, allow their emotions to dictate their moods. And I just tell people I'm at work. I'm simply being, I'm present. Does that make sense? I'm not happy, I'm not sad, I'm simply in the middle, being present. I'm at work. I'm not happy nor sad. I literally just, that's all I do. I just be chilling. Like whenever there's work to be done, I go out there and get the work done. And then when it's over, it's over. But I'm not finna allow my emotions to dictate things, because if I react emotionally, that looks bad on me more than it looks bad on the other person, because the only thing the other person is doing is getting a reaction out of you. But you're allowing that person to get a reaction out of you. So today I got a video for you guys about how to improve yourself in solitude and why I believe solitude is so important. So we're gonna watch this video and I'm gonna give my perspective on it, and then we're gonna keep the ball rolling. Boom, 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 boom. So just a couple seconds.
The Zhongnan Mountains, located in the Shaanxi province in China, have been a dwelling place for Taoist hermits for at least more than 2000 years. For centuries, they've been seeking refuge from society, and for different reasons. Some pursued a spiritual path, others wanted to reflect on the world from a distance, and again others were mainly motivated by a disgust for the government. Hermits, regardless of why they've chosen their lifestyles, may have closed themselves off from one world. They've gained another, a world that's potentially much deeper and fulfilling. It's no surprise that hermits have appeared in many cultures in human history. Another example are the Christian desert mothers like Syncletica of Alexandria, who abandoned the city and spent the rest of her life in a crypt, or Hindu philosopher Ramana Maharshi, who meditated for many years at a temple, and Rabbi Joseph Yozel Horowitz, who spent years of his life in seclusion. But even though a stronger connection with God and the prospect of enlightenment are the grounds on which these hermits secluded themselves, there's also a more mundane reason why spending time alone can be beneficial.
Now, everybody's allowed to live their life according to their own means, even if you feel as though you don't want to live your life in solitude, like your entire life in solitude. But I do encourage that solitude is the one of the beneficial sound foundations when it comes to understanding yourself and, in a sense, understanding the world. I've learned a lot being more by myself and then going out into the world with the intentions that I've set and the boundaries that I've created than I would have if I was just around people all the time. You have to give yourself time to be, and you know what I noticed? I noticed this a lot. Even in group settings, a lot of people just don't know how to be quiet. They don't know how to shut the fuck up. People don't know how to just think and be to themselves. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, sometimes I really wish I could just literally in a group setting just be quiet. I could just shut the fuck up and then, like, we just exist. But no, motherfuckers always got some dumbass shit to say.
It's an opportunity for self-transformation. Being alone can be a transformative experience if we utilize it correctly, which is backed up by numerous accounts in the field of psychology, see links in the description, as well as philosophy and spiritual teachings like Buddhism. Now, this video doesn't recommend becoming a hermit nor socially isolated in ways that are unhealthy and destructive, or gives any advice for that matter. Solitude is a tool which can be used for good and bad, in moderation and excess. And this video explores the benefits that solitude can have. The information presented to you is mainly based on the author's reasoning and observations, supported by different sources.
I'm glad they covered that. Right, hold on real quick. I'm gonna move my webcam. I'm really glad they covered that. You shouldn't have to want to put yourself in years worth of isolation. Like for me personally, I do want to go and study under the Buddhist monks later on down the road when I'm financially capable of doing so and not having to worry about the things that happen. But the things that you discover about yourself in the world in solitude are like second to none, man. Second to none.
1. A chance for self-knowledge. When most people think of self-knowledge, they probably think about certain characteristics or ego constructs that they refer to as themselves. These could be things like, I'm a confident person, I'm a funny person, I'm not someone people can mess with. The Buddhists have a different approach. Even though they don't even acknowledge the existence of a fixed self, they do meditate to learn about the nature of existence, including the tangle of thoughts and emotions that we refer to as the self. As explained in another video about meditation, the goal of meditation is not just relaxing the body and the mind, but also gaining self-knowledge and transforming the mind. Meditators pay attention to their bodily processes, thoughts, and emotions, as well as what is happening around them and how they react to this. The benefit of solitude in this case is that it facilitates them to observe and know things about themselves that they usually do not see in the noisy outside world, interacting with other people. What causes them to feel a certain way? What is the root of their worries?
Where is this trigger coming from? Why am I triggered because of this? This person said this and I responded this way and I'm upset about it. Why am I upset about it? You can't ask these questions in the heat of the moment unless you actually are being very mindful about the situation that you're in. And that comes with experience and practicing being mindful, being present in the moment, and not allowing yourself to be dictated by the environment that's going on outside of you.
Again, it is often hard to see where certain thoughts and emotions originate from if we are always distracted by other people. In solitude, however, by sitting with ourselves, we are able to discover what causes the unpleasant mind states that we usually run from by embracing worldly distractions. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is
Hmm.
founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. A man's life is the direct result of his thoughts.
I'm gonna stop it right there because I literally just posted this yesterday. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, the consciousness behind them. Because you choose what thoughts you can have, right? When you truly focus and lock it in, you truly choose what thoughts that you want to have. You, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? Once your thoughts, right, because they come in, this shit can get deep, but once your thoughts energize and become part of reality, that's when your life will change, right? You think sometimes you think, right? Sometimes you think, right? And then that thought just doesn't do anything for you, right? That shit slides away. But when you put a thought into the atmosphere and intentionally make that thought reality, that's when you see the direct result of your life changing, right? Because you consciously choose that this thought you're going to accept and move forward with it.
We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. End quote. So, following the view of the Buddha, if we want to control our experience, we have to control the mind. This is not an easy path. Gaining true self knowledge means that we inevitably face our demons head on. We see this is true with the mechanism of addiction, which is an amplified form of seeking pleasure to escape what is happening in the present. The
Once again, he's talking about addictions. You choose your addictions. I'm addicted to success. I'm addicted to evolution. I'm addicted to my spirituality. Other people are addicted to drugs and drinking and junk food and watching TV all day. And not saying any of these things are bad, live your life. But we all are slaves to something. We all are a slave to something. And I consciously choose to be a slave to something positive that's going to leave a legacy behind.
present moment is the place where everything happens, according to Buddhist teachings, Stoic philosophy, and many other views of the reality of human existence. Reality, in this case, doesn't just refer to what's happening around us, but especially to what's happening inside us, which is often overlooked. Our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. For example, we think about a certain event that happened in the past. This event causes us pain. We may feel angry, or anxious, or sad. But these thoughts and sensations concerning this event all take place in the present. An addict in this situation will immediately take his drug of choice, not so much because he likes it, but rather to escape the pain.
When I'm faced with a difficulty, it's literally in my mind. It's time for me to perform. If I find myself getting anxious, which doesn't really happen often anymore because I'm confident and I believe in myself. But when I find myself being tested in my mind, I automatically boom, which took practice from me, was all right. It's time to perform. It's time to go out here and do what I need to do. It's time to lock in and show these people exactly why I am who I am, or show this situation and myself that we've been through worse. So I'm not going to allow this present situation to determine who I am.
That occurs to him in the present. But what exactly are the thoughts that trigger the addict? What emotions occur? What negative self talk does the addict engage in? This is true self knowledge, according to Buddhism, which ideally can be acquired in solitude, so we can put ourselves under a magnifying glass with minimal distraction. 2. A chance to let go of fixed views and groupthink.
Now, before we get into this, I always am a strong advocate for saying fuck societal conditions, because if you allow society to dictate your life, it's going to affect you in ways that you don't think. And you have to think for yourself. As a young black man in America, I always find it crazy how as a community, we're quick to react to things like George Floyd being killed, R.I.P. to George Floyd, first and foremost. George Floyd being killed, Trayvon being killed. Rest in peace to Trayvon Martin. And I hope every single one of these families who have lost a child too young heal, right? But we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss why people don't see the chess moves that the people up top are making at, and we're not even talking about politicians. We're talking about people who control the economy. And I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I have to keep myself safe. But we're talking about people who intentionally cause this and cause that in order to get a reaction and to further divide humanity. Because if we were to unify and see past the bullshit, right? Police brutality, they move a chess piece. Political gain, political opportunities, they move a chess piece, right? Somebody gets shot, move a chess piece. Disease, illness, they move a chess piece. And they're getting you to react, but people don't see the game. They don't see the game, right? They only are trained to react to things and not think for themselves, which sucks. So you have to unlearn that this is how society wants me to be, and then relearn how you want yourself to be. And then this is where you learn to set your own boundaries. You set your own morals, codes, and ethics that you yourself align with. So let's keep going.
When we associate with people, it is easy to get caught up in certain ideologies. Like mental states, ideas are contagious. Much more so when we expose ourselves to people that share the same worldview. History has countless examples of people that are so convinced of their collective belief system that it seems almost impossible for them to open up to different points of view.
And this is what you call the herd mind, being a sheep, because you've been convinced to be part of the collective instead of being somebody for yourself. And that's, in a sense, this is why I respect somebody like Andrew Tate, because he goes against the norm and he thinks for himself. He does it intentionally. He pisses people off intentionally. He takes the things to the extreme, and everybody's quick to react about it instead of listening to the content, right? He can get all emotionally flared and all this stuff, but if you listen to the content that he's presenting, there are some truths. And I'm not saying I agree with everything. All the sexism and all that stuff, like, I can do without. But there are some things in this world that he is absolutely right about. Being a competitive, the world being competitive in a man's sense, right? Because you have to, as a man, you have to think logistically. You have to have a balance of your emotions and be emotionally intelligent. Then you have to understand the law of the land. And you have to understand that there's somebody else out here who's working as hard as you, even harder. So how are you going to put yourself into this world when there's somebody out here harder, working harder than you? Right? But you have to understand yourself first before you even get on the chess board, before you even get to see how the pieces work. Right?
The media, including online platforms, play a huge role in this, as they
Absolutely.
provide us with a stream of information. By exposing ourselves to certain media consistently, we let them inject our minds with the opinions, views, and ideologies created by other people. Then, like parrots, we proudly repeat these second-hand opinions to our environment as if they are our own. We can also see a tendency with people to be drawn to certain information sources that agree with the data that's already stored on their internal hard drive.
Ooh, and this goes into mental complexities. This is where, let's say you start to question society, right? But then, right, you're subconsciously going to choose things that you already align yourself with instead of hearing different information that may or may not change how you think. Isn't that crazy? Like, let's say I'm a Christian man, right? I'm only going to allow Christian information into my life. Little do I know that Islam or Buddhism or Hinduism may have something more for me. It may have something more in store, but I'm actively choosing to not allow any of that into my space. And this is where people develop fixed mindsets, right? And they're stuck in their ways. That's what you hear a lot. People get stuck in their ways.
Lives. By continual exposure to opinions similar to the ones we already have, while ignoring those that aren't in line with our own views, our existing views will only be strengthened. This is how so called echo chambers are created, which are
Mm.
ultimate manifestations of groupthink, in which
Mm-hmm.
exclusively like minded people participate that mutually strengthen their shared ideology, regardless of how flawed it may be. Solitude, on the other hand, allows us to detach ourselves from such echo chambers.
I love how he used the word detached, right? Because personally, when I'm at work, I find it crazy how people get so emotionally involved in work. I personally and I consciously choose to detach myself. Why? Because the environment that I'm in, I don't have control over. There are other people who have the control. So why would I allow myself to emotionally react to something that is out of my hands? It's out. But what I can do is consciously choose how I will respond to said situations. And I personally detach myself. I don't allow my emotions inside. I don't allow people to trigger me or give me, the cause and effect method. They say something and then I respond in a way that I know is negative to my own spirit, right? You responding is more telling of you than it is about them, right? But once you detach yourself from this group thinking, this collective consciousness, right? This herd mind, you're able to see the fallacies of whatever ideology it is. You're able to differentiate yourself from this group thinking. You can think for yourself at this point. That's all I'm trying to get you to do is think for yourself. And this is where you begin to align yourself with your own morals, codes, and ethics. In these moments, when you stop thinking like a fucking sheep and then you start thinking for yourself.
As well as the media outlets we've been exposing ourselves to. When we spend some time alone to reflect on the ideas we've been taking for granted, we can find out if these ideas truly align with our personal experiences and with factual information. We can reflect on the usefulness and destructiveness of ideas that constitute hatred, what damage this will do to ourselves and the world around us, even when this hatred seems justified, and if there are alternative ways to deal with our environment. A good example of this we can see in the movie American History X, when neo-Nazi Derek Vinyard is separated from the indoctrination by the white supremacist movements he was involved in due to a prison sentence for voluntary manslaughter. In prison, he is involved with a similar group for a while called the Aryan Brotherhood, but
Mm.
after a dramatic breakup from those he thought were his brothers, he spends a great deal of his prison sentence alone with enough time to reflect, and he also becomes friends with an Afro-American inmate. This all changes him. It makes him see how wrong his ideas actually are. When spending time alone, we can open ourselves up to alternative views, new ideas, and can transform the way we see the world and our role in it. 3. An opportunity to become more self-sufficient. We all depend on the people around us to some degree, even if it's just for the simple fact that one person cannot exist without two other people procreating. But some people seem to feel forsaken and helpless when there's no one by their side, even
And this is what I try to get people to understand. Like, one thing I realized about relationships nowadays is there's this level of codependency, especially in today's generation. Codependency is, and I feel as though it's the killer of relationships. And this, like I said, this is my personal opinion. If you have a different opinion, leave it down in the comment section below. I personally believe that if I'm already self sufficient, my wife should also already be self sufficient. Not already, like if I'm the man, I'm going to provide, right? I'm going to provide for my family. That's just set in stone, right? Because that's what a man does, honorably so. Protects his family, provides for his family, make sure his family has a place to stay, make sure his wife mentally, spiritually, physically is fucking phenomenal, right? Financially, everything is good. That's what a man should do, right? But being self sufficient and not having to rely on somebody else is probably the best thing you can be in this world. And by being self sufficient, I'm not saying you don't go to anybody for advice or anything, but you do realize that if you put in the work, you can do it yourself. Look at this content creation. I put in the work and I realized I could do it myself.
Even if it's just for a short period. They need to be in the company of others all the time and can't stand the idea of being alone with their thoughts.
Like I said, I enjoy being by myself because I know myself way better now because I got to sit in my thoughts 24/7 and I got to align myself because I got to sit around and be in my thoughts because nobody's here. There's nothing to distract me. Social media, let's get the fuck out of here. I am simply in my thoughts and understanding where they come from and if I align myself with them or not.
Such people are overly dependent on others beyond the degree of what's reasonable and truly necessary. In order to survive, especially in a modern world, we don't need to be in the presence of other people all the time, in most cases. In many individualistic and highly developed countries, it's not even required to leave the house and speak to people anymore to get our basic needs met. Psychologist and author Daniel Marston states in an article, "It is useful to consider how much social interaction and social connection is actually required to survive and even enjoy life. There actually is very little required. You have to be able to interact with others to get things done. But really, there's not much else you need. Many people may prefer more, and that is fine. But many people may also prefer less, and that is fine as well." End quote. When we think of it, how much social interaction do we actually need? Of course, this is different for every person. But how often are we hanging out with people, not because we like them, but simply because we don't want to be alone? And is this feeling of deficiency we might experience in solitude caused by the solitude itself, or by the belief that we need company?
Mm.
Do we believe that we're somehow insufficient when there's no one around?
I believe society has placed a condition that you need to be dependent on others, especially with social media and things of that nature. Everybody says you need to work together. I don't think personally I can do it on my own. I can do good and bad on my own. I can learn new things on my own. But I'm not going to exclude the fact that there's somebody out here who knows something better than I am and I can pick their brain forward. So
If that's the case, we rely on the presence of other people to feel sufficient, which is an unreliable way to operate. When we long for company, it means that we're dissatisfied with what is, as we've added a problematic element to the fact that we're, for example, alone on a Saturday night. So it's not always the solitude that's the problem, but how we think about it. By embracing solitude, however, we can learn to appreciate it, so it's not a problem, but something neutral or even pleasurable. We can use the time we spend alone as a practice to transform into more self-sufficient people, meaning that we learn to rely less on others and are able to fulfill many of our needs on our own. Also, instead of experiencing ourselves as empty vessels that need to be filled by others, we find ways to fill them ourselves, so we don't need others for experiencing a sense of completeness and contentment. The idea that everything we need to feel contentment is already within us is supported by the many people who have experienced this firsthand. Poet Fernando Pessoa once wrote, "Freedom is the possibility of isolation. You are free if you can withdraw from people, not having to seek them out for the sake of money, company, love, glory, or curiosity, none of which can thrive in silence and solitude. If you can't live alone, you were born a slave. You
oh
may
my
have
god.
all the splendors of the mind and the soul, in which case you're a noble slave or an intelligent servant, but you're not free."
Mm.
End quote. even though human beings are interdependent in many ways, and social isolation can be harmful, the value of spending time alone is something to ponder upon. If we want to know ourselves better, become more authentic and independent thinkers, and generally more skillful in the art of solitude, spending time alone can be an investment with high returns. Thank you for watching.
W motherfucking video, man. W fucking video. I'm not gonna lie, that shit right there, it literally just captures a small aspect, most of the aspects that you need when it comes to being isolated. Like, there's so many benefits when you actually sit down and bear in your thoughts and understand where they come from. And I'm not gonna speak too much more on it. It's your boy McLavish. Peace, prosperity, and power, mind, body, and soul, death before dishonor. Speaking the truth, keeping the faith, and holding it the fuck down, man. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay blessed. Hey, learn yourself, man. It's a world out here that you don't even realize. You see the door, but you don't see the door behind the door. Stay focused on yourself and it may open up for you. Yeah.